This is News 24 Live. I'm Erin Bates, and in studio with me today is Maya Adam, who's here to talk about child nutrition.
Hi, Erin.
Hi, Maya, thank you for your time.
Not at all.
To start off with, I'm sure you've heard of a South African sports scientist called Tim Noakes.
Yes, I have. I've been following the newspapers and reading, and I also actually have the cookbook, so I've been looking through that as well. Yeah.
And as someone who works in child nutrition and is very interested in health and food, what do you make of his findings and his...
Look, I think to some extent his recommendations make sense in that he is telling us we need to be consuming fewer refined carbohydrates and less heavily processed food. But I have a few concerns. One concern is that, since the early 1800s, we've known that the human body needs some amount of protein, carbohydrate, and fat to function optimally. And so when we start to eliminate one whole category from those three, that triad that we know helps a body to perform at its best, it's concerning to me because that category is not just a single food, it's a broad spectrum, all the way from foods we should definitely try and avoid or limit in our diet, like simple sugars, all the way through to lovely brown rice or quinoa. Those are carbohydrates, but they're great carbohydrates that, if eaten as part of a healthy diet, can really support long-term health. The other concern that I have with kind of the Banting diet is that I think there's the potential for the lay person to misunderstand and to think that they are now allowed to eat as much fat and protein from any source as they like, as long as they don't eat any carbohydrates. And I think in the long run, that could lead to new epidemics of things like colon cancer or diseases associated with an increased amount of processed meat or animal fats that aren't as healthy when they're eaten in large amounts. So those are my concerns with the Banting diet.
Just to check your background, where do you come from? What is your kind of understanding of health and diet, and how do you know about these things?
Okay, so I teach at the Stanford School of Medicine in California. I also studied at Stanford, and I did my medical degree in Canada. I come from Canada originally. I'm actually half South African. I have, my mother is from Durban originally, and my grandmother, who's 100 years old, still lives in Durban. I asked her recently, when I visited her, I said, "How are you feeling?" And she said to me, "So far, so good."
That's a pretty good answer from someone who's 100.
Exactly, if we can all say that. And I mean, she is really, for me, she embodies balance in her life. She has spent her lifetime eating fresh foods, almost always prepared in the home. She ate a lot of unrefined vegetarian sources of protein as part of an Indian diet. She's Indian, so she ate this traditional balanced diet with unrefined carbohydrates, brown rice, lots of lentils, and small amounts of meat and fish. She always reminded us to choose naturally occurring unsaturated fats and oils like avocados and olive oil. And so I think that kind of balance is very complicated to sum up in a sound bite. And sound bites are what sells today. We want one phrase, eat fat, or whatever it is that will tell us exactly what we're supposed to do. But the human diet, like the human body, is much more complicated than that. We need to eat a variety of different foods. We need to eat the right amount of foods. We need to enjoy our foods. I think that's one of the biggest concerns I have whenever we start to eliminate a certain nutrient, is that we lose the feeling of food is one of the greatest pleasures of life. And we need to be able to say, you know what? I usually don't eat any sugar, but today I really feel like eating some jam on my toast. So I'm allowed that because I feel like it today, and tomorrow I won't have it. And there's beauty in finding